Hello everyone and welcome to the templates URLs code example. And in this lecture we are going to be coding through everything we just discussed in the previous lecture. As a quick note, the project for this lecture and the project for the entire section can be found under the Django level 4 folder in the course content. And it's called template project in that folder. And let's get started. So I am going to start the project entirely from scratch. And in our text editor, I think it's always great practice to get through the workflow of starting up your project, setting up your settings.py file, or you can skip ahead if you don't want to go through that process. If you just want to meet me where you would start at the template project, okay, let's hover over to the Atom text editor here. And if you have PyCharm, you can do this also by automatically in the PyCharm. I already told. So we'll say cd into Django level 4, and then I'm going to say Django admin start project. Okay, as usual we are doing for other app also. And then we will call this project learning underscore templates. Okay, since that's going to be what we are doing in this section of the course learning templates. So I will hit enter. Also set up our basic application. This will just be a one application project. So I can see here I have learning underscore templates ready to go. So then again, what I am going to do is say cd into the learning template, and then I'm going to say Django admin start app. Okay, and we'll just call this basic underscore app to enter, and that creates our application perfect. Okay, we have basic app and learning templates, and inside of this I am also going to create a new folder called templates. And then inside of that, let's create an actual another folder that matches the name with our application. In this case it's basic app. Perfect. Okay, now let's go to the settings.py and make sure that our settings is aware of our templates directory and the fact that we have a basic application here. So as always, we come here and set up template underscore. They are equal to os path dot join, and then I join my base directory with templates, and hopefully this starts to feel really natural to you, and you don't have to keep looking this up. I know when I was first starting out, I constantly had to look up this exact line of code. But as you get used to starting the project over and over again, this becomes really natural to you, very, very easy. Again, install the apps. We want to make sure our application should be here included with that name, and then coming down to our actual template, let's add in our templates directory here also. Then we are going to do is say template dir. Okay, save that. And that should be all we need to do for now. You can always mess around with the this other stuff later. So let's come back to basic app, and what we are doing to be discussing here is how to use those relatives URLs. In order to actually show all that, though, we need a couple of HTML files that we are actually going to be linking to. So under templates, under a basic app, let's create a couple of HTML files, HTML pages. So we'll say create based uh, base.html, and we are actually not going to do anything with this file for now. We'll do that in subsequent lectures, but we'll keep it in for now. So we'll also create a new file called index.html. That will be our home page, and then again under a basic app we will create another file, and we'll call this other html, and this will just be quit unquit the other pages to link to using the relative URLs. And then finally, Let's create a page that's actually going to have all our information about relative URL templates, and so you can call this file whatever you want. I'm going to give it a really obvious name so I understand what it's about. I will call it relative underscore URL underscore templates HTML. Really long ugly name that is, but that way there is no mistake of what's going on in this HTML file. So I'm going to work with everything right now, but base HTML you can feel free to close to HTML, and we'll walk okay about this file again when we talk about template inheritance, and then we can close our settings.py file. Don't need the welcome guide, so relative URL template saves that other. Let's put in some HTML code, save that, and then index.html, save that. Okay. So in all of this, let's add a heading in that way. Once we actually visit the page with Django, we know what's going on that page with that heading. So we'll say welcome to index. Okay, so save that in other. I am going to make a heading one that says welcome to others, and then relative URL template will say uh, h1 tag. Okay, here in the body. So URL template, and this is where we are actually going to be messing around with those template tags that we just learned about in the previous lecture. To actually show all these pages, though we need to set up the views.py. Okay, so let's complete to our basic app, come to views.py and set up that all. Okay, here. So again, all we are going to be using in the render function, these are going to be really simple views. We are not creating any forms or any models. We just essentially going to returning the actual pages. We'll say index taken that request. Okay, return render request index by using the def define keyword, and then I'm going to return this actual request for the page, and then just we path to under templates. So under template, all of these are under the basic app folder, and then for the next index page, it's just index that is HTML, index.html it will be. Again, it's kind of a general name, so maybe when you are creating your own web application, don't create such a general render, or excuse me, that is wrong, such a way general other pages. So it's kind of probably a bad name for it, and then we will say basic app slash others.html, and then the other view we'll just call it relative, and this is going to be the page that has those examples of how to actually create a relative path. So we'll say return. Okay, render, passing the request, and then pass in this case basic app slash, and that kind of ugly name it was relative to your URL, basic app relative URL templates, uh, templates.html. Okay, and now we have our views ready to go, and now we need to set up our URLs to actually point to these views, and this is where we have to make sure we set up the URLs correctly to actually use the template tag. Okay, incorrectly. So let's start off with the URL for the project itself. Coming to learning underscore templates, remember that's the name of our project. We'll come to the urls.py file, scroll down, all up down, and here we can see the link to the admin page. So that should be in the form of path, not in regular expression. Please update that. So that means we need to import the views from our application. So we will say that our basic app import views, that we will include, and then what I am doing to do here, setting up the actual import. Okay, that may be wrong, so please you can do chat GPT, and you can write the path method here, because in the latest Django path method is using, we are using path method, not URL regular expression method. So this you will need to change. Okay, so before the admin, you will need to put the index page URL here, index page views. Okay, so right here, this is in the form of regular expression. Please convert into the latest method, that is path method. Okay, you just need to copy that code and ask ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT will provide you the correct latest Django code. So for instance, that URL configuration, we can do something like this URL also after the admin, we can give this URL using the regular expression, and let's say, okay, so I will say basic app URLs this, alright, okay. So again, I just to iterate what this is doing with the URL patterns, we use this function views. So that means, you know, we are directly calling it from the function. So using this regular expression, if someone just comes to your domain page, that's the uh, home page, okay, and it will just say, okay, go to views, grab the index, and how it this person on the home page will look like it. So again, caret symbol is anything before that slash basic app and then the name of the actual page. Okay, so again, the views such as basic app slash relative or basic app slash other basic app slash etc. Then we'll tell it go to the basic app URLs page for the subsequent views to show or the subsequent mapping of the URLs. Which means we come over here to our basic app, right click on the basic app folder, then create a new file called urls.py Python. And now we have the urls.py file for our application, and this is where we need to make sure we set up uh, that stuff correctly. And there is going to be a namespace that we need to set up. So right now inside your application, you are going to say from django.conf for configuration URLs, import URLs. Okay. And then we are also going to need to say from, and this is where you have many options. You can just say from dot import views, or you can say from basic app import views. Definitely check the this what you obviously styling should be, but I like doing this from a teaching perspective just because it's really clear when this voice is coming from instead of seeing the dot. Okay, so again, some of my styling here is really tuned more towards teaching this topic versus what you would actually do for a full on project. All right, so this is what I was referring to as far as I like setting that namespace whenever you are going to be using template tagging. So this is for template tagging. What we need to do is to zoom in here, set a variable name, a global name called app underscores name, and Django is going to automatically look for this. And then you need to set this equal to whatever the name of your application is. So app name is equal to basic app as a string, and this is what's going to allow us to use that template. So template tagging to actually tell Django look under the basic app and then find the URL that matches. Okay, and then we have our URL patterns list here, and this is where I can say URL, and we'll use regular expression again here, but we need to change into that path method uh, according to the latest Django. You can do the chat GPT and you can get that. Okay, so we'll call views relative here, views dot relative, and we can give it the name equal to relative. Now let's create another view, or sorry, another URL link for the other view, that other HTML pages. So r slash other slash dollar, Now we can say views. The other name is equal to others.html. Okay. So for that other.html, but name equal to other. All right. Save that. So basically, what this is saying is, if you are coming to your project page and you see something that says home page domain slash basic app slash, then you are going to come over here, go to basic app URLs, and then say, okay, domain name slash basic app slash relatives gives you the relative view domain name. Okay, and comes and gives you the other view. So this second one give you the other view. And later on, when we are dealing with the clone project, we'll talk about how to continue on our favorite expression here to show pages for specific users and all that kind of stuff. But right now, just focusing on templates and the URL templates. So this should all be set up. Now let's come over here to our relative underscore URL underscore templates and HTML, and let's show you how to actually implement those templates. Everything we have seen talking about but have not shown yet. So we'll call an anchor tag here. And the big part of the anchor tag is the href, where you actually are telling it to go to the file. And we have seen before that we usually do something like this basic app slash other HTML, and then we say this links to the other page or something like that, but we want to replace this so that uh, it's relative and we don't have this actual pathway here, and this is relative to the actual application. So in Django you can find it. So since you are going to be inputting actual essentially tags in code, we use the percentage sign here for the template, and then we use the keyword URL. And then inside of this, inside of single quote is the name of that application. So we'll say basic app colon and then that name of what you want to show. Correct? So if we come back to remember URLs that .py file, I have app name basic app. This basic app is what needs to match over here. That's where this from basic app, it's not from the folder name, it's from this app name right now. And then this other name is what we are going to look for the second part of this. So we'll say other, and that's all you need to do for the URL template tagging. And this is the way it's going to be used in the future for Django 2.0 or other versions of Django. The other way is will eventually go away, and this is going to be the way of the future. And obviously you can see that it's actually pretty simple. The key thing to note here is the naming convention. So you need to set up an app name inside your application's URL.py file. That the first part of this on the left hand side of this column, and on the right hand side of the column is the name it looks for. So over here you start that py that the name it's looking for. So we'll save that, and let's see if this all worked. To make sure I didn't forget anything, I'm going to say under learning template. So Python manage.py, and I will say run server, and let's hope this all worked out and we don't have to debug anything. That run it. So it's working fine, but here we need to debug this. We are getting the include error. So I forget to import include. So says here I include is not defined. So I just come back to the URLs and .py over here and forget to do this include and save that. Let's try again. All right. Now it looks like we are getting something running. So let's copy this and open it into the browser. So it looks like it says welcome to the index. Now it's time to really test this out. I'm going to go to basic underscore app slash relative. Okay. Then hit enter. And now it says welcome to the relative URL template. And remember we have to use this slash basic app slash relative because That's what we are doing in the project url.py file. And the project URL is that py file. So I'm saying right here, if something starts with basic app, go to basic app URLs to get the next piece of it. And then in basic app URLs, I'm saying, okay, so if it says basic app slash relative, then bring back that relative view, which is the views that relative, which links to the HTML file. So let's see if this template tag actually worked with the link coming back to the URL. So here it is again. So it says here the other page. Let's hit the link and it says welcome to other perfect. And this we can see right here is basic app slash other. And that's what you have to do for your URL template tagging. So it may seem like a complicated process at first, but it's really actually not so bad. All you had to do was set up that app namespace and then set up the name, set up the URL mapping, and you are good to go. Basically, now you can easily call the URL template tags. Okay. So we covered the very basics of how to use URL templates tagging. Let's show a few more examples for sites or pages that you typically don't have within your own custom application. Things like the index page or things like the admin page. But a quick note before we get started on that. A really common bug or error that will be a head scratcher is if you accidentally leave an extra line here in the string either before you have this or after you have that. What happens is Django ends up looking for space basic app as a string instead of just basic app uh, as a string, or they use the name other blank or a space here. So that can be a really tricky error to solve because when it printed out, it says, "Oh, I can't find the name other." And then you will look over here on URLs and you say, "No, I really do have the same name other. What's going on here?" So definitely be careful if this one. That's a really common error and it happens to me sometimes and it's a big head scratcher. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, so let's move along to show you how you could add something like the admin page as an anchor tag. So we will say href percent sign. Okay, and then for this again you call your URL and in this case you are going to call admin. Correct? Index. So basically what's going on is if you go to settings.py in your project, you will notice that not only is your basic app a application but also Django contrib admin is also application, and we don't actually have that open. But if you wanted to, you could open up the Django source code or just check out the application admin. That's something that always get imported as an installed application, but inside of that in its own URLs is that Python file .py file. There is an admin application with an index named view that it will take you to something to note here that in order to this to work, sometimes you have to make the migration just because admin wants it that way. So we can go ahead and do that. So you can say python manage.py migrate and then hit enter. Okay. So it will run all the migrations for everything. There is a default application. And then we can actually say python manage.py run server, hit enter, and then we can bring in the browser page and we can see. And let let's open that in the browser. Okay. So so here I have it on welcome to index, but let's take it to basic app slash relative and now actually forget to put some text in there to the anchor tag. Okay. So if you notice uh, I have my anchor tag, but I forget put text in there. So Let's bring that in and let's make this a link to, if I come here, link to admin, and we will say that. See, if that gets updated as I refresh the page, so I just refresh the page over here. You can see I refreshed it and now it says link to admin. So now if I click link to admin, it takes me to the admin page so we can expand on that and we see Django administration username and password. I can hit back if I hit the other page. Okay, it takes me to the other page. Okay, so let me show you one more example of how to get to the index page, which is also a little different because it's not in your own application. I will move this aside, show it to you here. So here, this for this, it's actually even simpler. All you have to do is create an anchor tag and the href again, it's the block. But in this case, it's URL and just straight up index. Again, make sure that there is no space before or after index in that in string. So we can save that and let's say link to index. Okay. Uh, I am going to refresh my page and says welcome to other. Let's go back here, refresh this, and it says the other page link to admin, link to index, and there is my index page. So those are three main examples that you are going to be using your own application view, the admin, index view, and then just the home view. And again, keep in mind with these spaces that could really take to you up, but hopefully you saw how this is pretty simple process. So if you feel any difficulty, please contact me. Thank you for watching this lecture. We'll